An extinct species is defined as a species of which there are no living individuals, either in the wild or in captivity. As such, many of the specimens you will see in the museum are examples of extinct species, including the mammoth and the dinosaurs. However, while these species went extinct far before modern times, some species have gone extinct far more recently. Such Holocene extinctions are often the result of human action. Hi, I'm Connor, and today I'm going to discuss the eradication and extinction of the Eskimo curlew and its close relative, the Slender Billed Curlew. From the great auk to the Carolina parakeet and the passenger pigeon, the U.S. has had a long history of avian extinctions. However, while these species vanished more than a century ago, other extinctions were far more recent. Curlews are a group of shorebirds related to sandpipers. They are comparatively large, with wingspans up to 43 inches, almost 4 feet, and are thus the largest shorebirds. However, some species are smaller, such as the little curlew, with a wing length of 27 inches, or the slightly larger wimble species. They are most easily identified by their massive, down-curved bills, which they use to probe for worms in mud. As with most sandpipers, curlews breed in the Arctic each summer and migrate south each winter. As its name suggests, the Eskimo curlew bred in the high Arctic of Canada and Alaska. It would then migrate through the Great Plains of the U.S. down to the Pampas of Argentina. As with most sandpipers, Eskimo curlews would gorge themselves while in the Arctic, as to store fat for the migration south. It is hypothesized that the Eskimo curlew is one of the most numerous shorebird species in the U.S. In the 1800s, the U.S. began expanding westward through a series of land purchases and other territorial acquisitions. To help the newly acquired land, the federal government provided incentives to move westward, sparking a mass migration of settlers. On their way westward, the settlers voraciously hunted the wildlife around them, leading to the near extinction of bison. During these trips westward, the settlers also found themselves in the center of the Central Flyway, a migration path for a variety of waterfowl species, including the curlew. This began a period of mass hunting, as the fat, slow-flying curlews provided a reliable food source, prompting the moniker doe bird. Each year, millions of birds were killed as they migrated through. It is further hypothesized that the Eskimo curlew relied on the swarms of rocky-mouthed locusts that filled the skies of the Great Plains to restore energy on their migration. However, due to the destruction of the plains for farming, the locusts went extinct, likely contributing to the decline of the curlew. By the 1950s, the curlew was thought to be extinct, as portrayed in the novel Last of the Curlews, which was later made into an animated film. The last photographs of the species were taken in 1962 on Galveston Island, Texas. These final pictures are also the last empirical evidence of the Eskimo curlew. Empirical evidence, defined as evidence that can be observed or proved experimentally, is critical for effective scientific thought. Empirical evidence is contrasted with inferences, which describe the theories and postulates that are implied by observations. When studying species that are no longer present, inferred interpretations are often relied upon. The Slender Billed Curlew was a slightly larger species, only slightly smaller than the two wimble species. It bred in the steppes of Kazakhstan and wintered in the Mediterranean. Like the Eskimo curlew, it was heavily hunted in its wintering grounds and is believed to have once been common in Western Europe. However, unlike the Eskimo curlew, there is likely still sufficient habitat for the curlew to breed in winter. However, it is likely too late. A species' minimum viable population is defined as the minimum number of healthy individuals required to sustain the species' existence. MVP is defined by a variety of factors, including population distribution, sex ratios, and external factors. In the case of the slender-billed curlew, since the species was previously much more widely distributed, a sharp drop in population would lead to a loss of genetic diversity. Thus, it is believed that due to hunting in the 19th century, the slender-billed curlew dropped past this point, and thus was forced irreversibly towards extinction. However, due to the obscurity of this species' habits when compared to the Eskimo curlew, it has been difficult to definitively determine if it is extinct. This optimism is furthered by the fact that the last verified observations of the slender-billed curlew were far more recent, in 1990. Nevertheless, it is likely that if it exists, the current population is less than 100 birds and is declining. Our knowledge of MVP and other genetic phenomena are the result of our application of scientific methods. Instead of simply relying on theory, it is vital that scientists test their postulations through data. After gaining insight from living species, this information can be applied to extinct species, such as that of the slender-billed curlew. I hope you enjoyed this video, and feel free to check out the rest of the videos on the Beneski YouTube channel. I want to thank